Harper here, WWE 2k19, and we're at it again with another video. What? In case you're wondering what I'm about to do, I'm going to play a Royal Rumble match. I have put myself in it, unfortunately. I should have just done it without my involvement, but I'm going to start it, and you guys can watch that in the background while I do my announcements, while I talk about the Royal Rumble, and just give you an update on everything else that's going on in my world at the moment. So we're going to start with just a big thank you for all the subscribers that I had. If you've watched some of the videos recently, you'll see that they've had loads of views. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for watching, for enjoying those videos, and then of course for you guys subscribing. Thank you so much, it means a lot to me. But I just want to explain, because after that video I did one more video about the Rising Stars DLC, and then I kind of disappeared off the radar for a few days. It's been actually 5 days since I posted. It was just a weird week last week. It was like a culmination of everything that could not necessarily go wrong, but everything that you would expect to happen just happening. And some of them weren't expected actually, and some of them were. Firstly, there was FIFA 19. I actually don't own it. I usually buy FIFA, but I waited this year until Christmas, and I just found it on a really good deal with NHL, and so I bought it. And the start of last week I was just really into FIFA. I still am actually. It's a great game. If you haven't got it, you should go and buy it, especially now because it's on offer. It's like $20 or £20 depending on what region you're in. And I bought that game and I loved it, and I was playing that at the beginning of the week, and then just as I was planning to do a video on my channel, what actually happened was my mother-in-law went into hospital. It was a big surprise, a really bad thing, and so it kind of shut us all down here. I actually live near my in-laws, so we were close enough that we went to visit them in hospital. We spent some time with them, and I think the whole family were just shook up over it. So that basically took out the few days of last week where I was planning to do some videos, but obviously private life, personal life is way more important than a YouTube channel. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth, guys. I'm always going to put my family first, and when that happened, this just wasn't in question. I didn't have time, wasn't really in the right state of mind with me or my wife. So I just didn't post a video. And then the weekend came, and the weekend is sort of, I'm trying to block off weekends at the moment so that I don't post on weekends. I'm just trying to be a bit more disciplined with that. Unless I have the time, my wife's working or whatever it is, I can then say, okay, I've got the time to do this, and so I'll then post on a weekend. But I'm trying not to, and so far it's worked quite well. So that's why there's been the absence. I apologise for that, guys. I'm back now. There should be videos regularly. I don't want to give you days when I'm going to be consistently posting. All I can say is that every week there are going to be new videos. It's just going to vary depending on what's happening in my life and what I'm doing. You know, I'm also, like I said, I'm playing FIFA at the moment. I'm considering doing FIFA videos as well, but I'm a little bit apprehensive about that because I feel like it's a bit cliched now to do FIFA videos with the way that KSI and other people have done with it. So I'm a bit reserved on FIFA, but it's still there as an option, and it's something that I thought about over the last few days. Now on to the major announcements. I've got two of those for you. The first one is a big one. It might make some of you sad, it might not. I'm not going to be doing any more ECW Universe Mode videos. Now, there's a bit of context to this. I've loved doing my Universe Mode videos. I absolutely love them, and I think that you guys have liked them. From looking at the views that I get from the videos and the comments and stuff, people seem to really like my Universe Mode videos, which is cool. But my ECW Mode video, I actually do a parody of Joey Styles called Joey Tiles. Now, the problem with this parody, as fun as it is to do, it destroys my voice, and what I'm finding is that after I do an ECW Universe Mode video, I've essentially lost my voice for the next 2 days after it, and that stops me being able to do one, videos, 2, life, So I've decided not to do ECW mode, universe mode videos anymore. Now, there is a chance that I might come back to it later and do it maybe with my generic American commentary accent, which is what I use for WCW and WWE. If you want that, you're going to have to leave comments and let me know. Just tell me what you're thinking. And, you know, if there's enough demand for it, I will do it. But at the moment, I'd rather do it with either Joey Tiles or nothing at all. So at the moment, my decision is I'm not going to do it at all. I'm still going to do WE. I'm still going to do WCW, so don't worry about those two. The accent that I use for that really doesn't affect my voice at all. So apart from the time I did the 4-hour pay-per-view with King of the Ring, and then I was dead. So the second announcement that I have for you is I want your ideas. I'd like to know what you want to see or hear in these videos from me. Basically, just leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the videos, but tell me what you'd like to see. If you want to see how I create arenas, then let me know in the comments. If you want to see how I create cores, let me know in the comments. If there's specific details of those events that you would like me to do and talk about, talk to me, let me know in the comments. I really want to make this channel, and I always have wanted this channel to be open and free for you guys as fans to be able to watch and leave your own feedback, and I respond to every comment. I've done that since I started, and I will continue to do so until it gets unrealistically impossible to be able to do it. But I will respond to you, and I always listen to feedback, so please tell me what you want. If you'd like to see more moveset videos, and even specifics. If you like the moveset video but there's a specific area you don't like, tell me what that is and I'll cut it out. Or if there's something you think I've missed on the movesets that you'd like to see, maybe you want more of the taunts to be shown in the moveset videos, then let me know this stuff and I will do it. So please leave a comment in the video, let me know your thoughts, what you'd like to see. So that's it for all of the WWE2k19 stuff for now. Secondly, what I wanted to do today was give a little bit of a Royal Rumble review from last night, hence the Royal Rumble in the background that you're watching at the moment. That is, this is actually probably the toughest Royal Rumble you're ever going to have, because I've put all my top superstars on the game into this Royal Rumble. At one point I'm going to jump in there and start playing, but right now I'm just leaving it on computer mode. I'm going to give you a bit of context for the Royal Rumble review. I've not watched WE. I haven't watched a live event for years and years and years. It's been possibly 10 to 15 years since I last watched a live event. So it was interesting. I've had the network all this time and I just don't watch it. But last night I decided to watch the Royal Rumble just to give it a look, see what it was like, and sort of figure out, because I don't like the current product, that's the truth. I do not like wrestling at the moment. I think that the current product sucks in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of potential. I think there's more potential now than there has been in years, maybe in the last 10 or 15 years, in terms of talent and the wrestlers that are there in the roster. I think there's really good talent there, but they're being badly used by WE. With AEW coming in now as a credible competitor, I do believe that this is going to start to change. But I don't know, I just wanted to watch it. I do a lot of ratings on my game where I rate all these new wrestlers, the current wrestlers, and I don't think I do a great job because I don't know them and I haven't watched them and spent the time doing that kind of research. So this was also an opportunity for me just to watch some of the current stars and try and match up the ratings that I've given them in game to their real life characters and selves. So that was good. But here's the thing I found, and I've only got a few thoughts, so this isn't going to take long. Becky Lynch is not Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's all a hype job. Now, it's ironic that Stone Cold's actually in the ring now as I'm saying this, but I've seen on Twitter so many people talk about Becky Lynch being like, she's the Stone Cold Steve Austin, she's this, she's that, she's the hottest thing since sliced bread. She's absolutely not. Just spoiler alert, guys, she's really not that over with the fans. She's definitely more over than anyone else. That's what I will say. She definitely got more pops than anybody else. Well, equally last night, I think there were a couple of others who might have got bigger cheers than her, but she was up there. So that was definitely true that she is one of the hottest wrestlers at the moment. But I think what we have to remember is that to be hot in the Attitude Era meant that not only were you over in the wrestling industry, but it meant that you were a pop star. It meant that you were known everywhere and by everyone. Hence The Rock being so popular now. But if you're popular in wrestling right now, all it means is that there's about 2 million people in America and maybe around the world who actually like you and know who you are. If you said Becky Lynch's name anywhere outside of a wrestling arena, no one's going to know who you're talking about. So I just feel like there needs to be... This is the problem with current wrestling fans. I think that current wrestling fans are bitter towards people like myself who used to watch the Attitude Era. And anybody who makes a negative comment about the current product, they always come out with the sort of one-liner, you are stuck in the past, or you're a dinosaur fan, whatever. And honestly, I just think there's a bitterness, but also there's a bit of envy there. People want to experience what happened in the Attitude Era, and in order to experience that, they're trying to blow things out of proportion that are happening at the moment. And Becky Lynch is one of those people who they're just basically blowing her out of proportion, making it seem like she's something she's not. And I can say that now because I've watched the current product. I heard how she was responded to last night by the fans. It really wasn't that big a deal. I watched Stone Cold come into an arena filled with 50, 60,000 people, and every single one of them was on their feet chanting, and that made a lot of noise. Last night at Becky Lynch there were maybe a few thousand out of the 40,000 cheering for her, and there's a big difference between the two, and you can really feel it. If you've experienced both, you'll understand completely the difference. And I do get that wrestling's not as popular now as it was then, but I'll come to the crowd later. Next thing is that Lynch and Asuka's match sucked. I really wasn't impressed with this. Again, part of me watching Becky Lynch was to assess, like, what's she like in the ring? Is she really a good wrestler? And quite honestly, watching Becky Lynch and Asuka wrestle was like watching two women on speed kickboxing and then doing too many reversal finishes. I've never seen so many finishes reversed in a match as I saw in that one, and it was just pathetic. It became unbelievable. I didn't believe or invest myself into that story because I was just like, come on, how many times can you reverse an armbar before it just becomes a bit of a joke? And so I ended up just really losing respect for both of them and the way that they tried to sell that match. So that was a crap match. The Women's Royal Rumble was average at best. The Women's Rumble, though, the ropes were way too high, and this is something that is more of a technical issue, and I really don't mean this in a sexist way at all, so I hope people understand where I'm coming from with this. The ropes in the ring are developed for men who are on average about 6'2", 6'3" in height, okay? Women aren't average 6'2", 6'3". Women in average are, in wrestling terms, are probably closer to 5'10", 5'7", between 5'7" and 5'10". Now, when you think about that, it sounds like a few inches, but the ropes need to be lowered for the Women's Rumble so that it's easier for them to be thrown over the top rope. Simply, it's just, to me, it's a power issue and a height issue. Women don't have as much power to be able to, you know, you never see women power slamming other wrestlers. It just doesn't happen. Gorilla pressing other wrestlers. Men can tend to do it because they're a bit stronger generally. And again, I'm not being sexist with this. This is just me being as honest as I can be. And so what you had was the women were really struggling to jump. They had to jump over the top rope to get out of the ring, and it looked really obvious. And so it really lost my interest because, again, you lost that authenticity of the match. The second part of this was, because the women were fighting so much, clearly using a lot of energy to try and handle themselves around the top rope, they were resting way too much during the Royal Rumble match. I have never seen so much resting in all my life. I think there were 4 times that I counted where there were about at least 5 wrestlers in the ring, and at least 3 of them were just sitting in the corners watching what was going on in the middle of the ring, and I've honestly never seen that. Even with men's Royal Rumbles that have been bad, the one thing that they've never done is rest. All of them just sitting and resting while one or two people are in the middle of the ring walking around. And it was really shambolic. I just thought, if you want me to buy into this, you need to either shorten the time of the Royal Rumble, which I think is an important one for the female roster, and also lower the ropes so that the ropes are about 3 or 4 inches lower, so that it's easier for them to be realistically thrown out of the ring. Because if you look at the spots of wrestlers who get thrown out in the male and compare it to the female, there's a lot more variety in the way that men throw wrestlers out of the ring. If you look at the female way, it was always the same way that they would be thrown out, or it would involve the woman jumping over the top rope and being caught on the apron and getting kicked out really easily. And I have issues with that because of just authenticity. If you want to promote the Women's Royal Rumble, if you want it to be this big hype thing, if you want women's wrestling to be equal to men's, there are certain things that they need to do in order to make that happen so that it's fair. Equality doesn't mean using the same ring. It actually means the same advantages and disadvantages that the men have. Now, men have a ring that's developed for them, essentially. The wrestling ring was traditionally developed for men, so that what they need to do, and what I'd love to see them do, is have a women's pay-per-view where they have a women's ring where everything might just be slightly lowered. The truth is, most fans won't even notice. It'll look great. And what you'll find is that the matches will end up looking a lot better. So I'd love to see WWE try that, because that was something that I think that they messed up. The Royal Rumble match itself wasn't bad. I wouldn't say it was great. The finish was good, and I'll go into that later. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. Well, this was something that I didn't think I would see. This was a classic wrestling match. Like, it was a throwback from the 1990s and probably the 1980s before that, but it was great to watch. But I do understand why most people wouldn't like that, with today's product being like every wrestler seems to be taking speed nowadays, even though there's all this drug stuff, because the matches are at 150-mile-an-hour matches. This one was like a 5-mile-an-hour match, and Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles did a decent job. It wasn't a classic, it was just a classic style match. I didn't think it was great, but I thought that what I liked about it was that they were given the time as wrestlers to tell the story of the match. That's what really interested me, was that we had two wrestlers who took their time to develop the story. The one thing I will say is that the payoff of the story was the worst payoff you're ever going to see. Rowan comes down to ringside, and this is spoiler alert. And by the way, Rowan did a Papa Shango, I'm sure of it. He came to the ring way too early. He came down to the ring before the ref got knocked out. What he should have done was waited until the referee had been knocked out, run down to the ring, then it would have had more of a shock factor, jumped into the ring, attacked AJ Styles, leave the ring before the referee gets back up. That way, only the fans would have known what happened. But weirdly, Rowan came down way before the ref got knocked out, and you could see that Rowan was just standing around unsure of what he was doing at ringside, and it was like, you've lost the mystique of why he's here, because you don't need that long for him to be in the ring for us to ask the question, why is he here? We'll ask that question on his way to the ring. So that happened, and that was a really bad finish to a match that actually the story was told progressively and quite well up until the finish. So I gave that an average score. The next bit of feedback that I had and sort of analysis I gained was how much the crowd sucked at the Royal Rumble. It was the worst crowd that I have ever seen, and like I said, I haven't watched wrestling for about 10 or 15 years, so I'm going back to the days where people actually cared about what was happening in the ring. There were times during the match, in fact there were more times than not, where the fans just didn't seem to care what was going on in the ring. And somebody said on Twitter that it was a timing issue, that the matches were timed badly, so the Royal Rumble should be at the beginning and the end of the pay-per-view. That way the fans' energy is high for the Royal Rumbles, but also gives them time to enjoy the matches in between. So that's one factor, but for me, I just remember the Attitude Era, and that's my sort of bar that I compare everything from, which is probably a little bit unrealistic, but I think it's still fair to say that we're talking about people who loved wrestling. So if fans are supposed to be people who love wrestling, then I don't think it's unrealistic to compare them to any time in history. But the Attitude Era, I remember watching a whole of a Raw, a whole of a WCW Monday Nitro, and the fans were invested in 80% of the matches. Yes, there were always times during each event where the fans get a little bit tired and they just want to rest. They just want to watch a wrestling match and just sit there and watch it. I get that that happens and that's okay. But with the crowd that I saw last night, it was dead for 85% of the event, which I just think is ridiculous. I can't believe that that fans actually pay to just sit there being bored, because I wouldn't pay for that. If I was going to be bored, I'd stay at home and do other things. So it was a shame to watch that. Oh, by the way, look at Rock's attire. That was an attire that I've created for him for the Nation of Domination. You can get that. You can actually get the elements on Community Creations. I've put all of the parts in there for you. So, like I was saying, I just think that the crowd were terrible. The Men's Rumble was good. Overall, I think the Jeff Jarrett thing at the beginning was interesting. They could have done other stuff with it. Kurt Angle, I think they should have brought later into the match later, because Kurt Angle still had enough energy, in my opinion. He's just about got enough energy left that he could have credibly been believed as a potential winner. And I think it would have been that element of surprise. If Angle had have been in the last four, it would have been really fun, because I think people would have just been like, hold on, is Kurt Angle actually going to win the Royal Rumble? And it was a bit of a troll move from me, personally, but I would have put him in the last four and just done that as a nice surprise. I think the whole R-Truth thing was a joke, but WE have done far worse than that. Nia Jax coming in, Nia Jax, however you say her name, I think she was the wrong wrestler. Well, maybe she was the right wrestler for it, but it was a lot of fun. I've got to say, I was really happy with the way that they pulled her into the Rumble and what they did with Randy Orton, with the way that the men were like, didn't really want to hurt her. They were a bit standoffish at first, and then the minute she started showing she was serious, they all attacked her. I thought that was good. I just thought that was good. I will say I'm surprised that there aren't more females out there bashing it and saying, you know, how can you say that women's wrestling is credible and then you throw them in the ring and make them a laughing stock in the men's division? But I think there's some realism to that, in the sense that we've got to realistically say there's no way that someone like Becky Lynch is going in there with the size of with a Braun Strowman and throwing him over the top rope. It's just not happening. So they shouldn't even entertain intergender stuff unless it's for entertainment purposes. You should never do it as an actual credible storyline. It just doesn't make sense. I think the only time it's ever worked was Chyna and Jeff Jarrett, ironically. Jeff Jarrett being in the Royal Rumble last night. So that would be the only time I actually personally think that the intergender wrestling really has credibility. And frankly, Nia Jax is no Chyna. She's just a really big lady who is heavy to lift, whereas Chyna was actually physically strong, and you believe that her physique looked like a small male wrestler, so she was bigger than X-Pac, for example, so it made kind of sense that she would wrestle with the guys from time to time. So anyway, the Men's Rumble was good. Overall, what I really liked personally was the finish to both of the Royal Rumble matches. Again, I'm really glad I've got here with one of the winners in the ring, Seth Rollins. I was rooting for Seth Rollins. He's my favourite wrestler at the moment in WWE in the current roster. So for me, I was rooting for Seth, but that was without really knowing much about his storyline. I knew that he'd lost the Intercontinental Championship recently, but other than that, I don't know. All I know is he's a good wrestler. I really like his look. I like the way that he wrestles. I think he's got the ability to go really far. I think he needs to work on his promos, and that's it. If he can just work on being himself more in his promos and being And I don't mean this in an Attitude Era sense, by the way. He just needs to be a little bit more aggressive in his promos. I think the way that he was when he was a cowardly Universal Champion a few years ago, I actually watched his matchup, the way that he held the title during that reign, and I loved it. I thought the cowardly approach for Rollins really worked well, and he played into that character perfectly. So I'd love to see a return to that character at some point, you know, doing anything to win the title, turning heel, and then obviously going on a run where he's like this cowardly champion, avoiding the losses, always getting out of it just when you think he's going to finally lose. So I'd love to see that happen. And then also with the Women's Rumble, I think clearly, I mean, I said that Becky Lynch isn't over, but she's clearly the most over of all the female wrestlers. And I think Becky Lynch winning was good. I thought that it was a waste of time having Becky Lynch's match when she was going to win the Royal Rumble. I think it would have been much more sensible to just say that, you know, give somebody else a shot at the title belt and let Becky Lynch win the Rumble clean. Like, don't worry about a storyline. Put her in the Rumble normally and let her actually battle from maybe number 2 or 3, and let her go the whole way through, a la Ric Flair, and let her actually beat Charlotte Flair. See, what I would have done, I think with her, I would have made her go longer than Ric Flair went in his Royal Rumble, and I would have let Becky Lynch throw Charlotte Flair out at the very end of it, because that would have been a double whammy for Charlotte Flair, not only losing to Becky Lynch, but to then her father to lose the record for the longest Rumble entrant would have been kind of cool. So that's the kind of thing I would have done for that match. But I think they got the whole story wrong, and it didn't come across well. But I did enjoy the fact that Becky Lynch won. I think what WWE have recognised is that trying to force their wrestlers down the fans' throats all the time isn't working, because now with Daniel Bryan as a champion, we've got Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumbles. All of a sudden, we've got the people that the fans want winning events and winning titles. I think Finn Balor was given a decent shot at Brock Lesnar. It was good to see that he wasn't just destroyed by Lesnar. I think that would have been both unrealistic and stupid on WWE's part. I think that would have just been like a real spit in the face of the fans. Fortunately, it didn't happen. I love the fact that they let Balor take advantage of Lesnar, get advantage over him with the table spot. So that was really fun to watch that. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the match with Brock Lesnar. I think they've set it up for a rematch at some point. I don't know how they're going to do that, because I think Elimination Chamber's around the corner, but that'll be a good match down the line, and I think that Finn Balor did himself no harm in terms of his popularity. Sorry, I'm just reading a comment here. Thanks, It's Eclipse. So you didn't think Becky deserved it? So there you go. Becky didn't deserve it, apparently. I just think, based on the popularity of the wrestlers, I can see why they let Becky Lynch and Rollins win it. I don't think it was the right story to tell, but it was good that they've actually put the most popular people over rather than Charlotte Flair. Although I will say this about Charlotte Flair, she is by far and above the best female wrestler that there is in WWE. Becky Lynch is nowhere near her level. Charlotte has just she has a ring presence that I can't explain, but clearly she's got more than just her wrestling ability from her father, because her ring presence is incredible. When she gets in the ring, you expect her to win the match, and that's something that I find quite impressive. It's something that you can't really train as well. Now, just so that you know, my wrestler's in the ring, so I'm going to have to actually start fighting a little bit. But overall with the Rumble, I was happy with it. You know, I thought the men's Rumble was a decent Rumble. It saved the event. I think that it could have been better, and I'm always going to say that. I think every event can always be better. Even the best WrestleMania event of all time could have been better. But overall, it was a good Royal Rumble. And it was an average Royal Rumble, I should say. It was good, but that doesn't mean that it was anywhere above average. An average Rumble to me is a good Rumble. It left me with a feeling of happiness that Rollins had won, and that it wasn't some, you know, corporate lecky that they'd thrown in my face and said, oh, so-and-so's got to win. John Cena didn't come down as a surprise and win, which made me very happy. So it is what it is, and that was the end of my Royal Rumble review, guys. I don't know about you, I didn't watch the pre-show match with Shinsuke Nakamura. By the way, that guy's outfit needs to change. He looks like he's come from some sort of 70s disco to wrestle. He doesn't look credible in his outfit, in my opinion, but I love him as a wrestler. I think he's a decent enough guy. And that's it. I mean, like I said, I probably won't watch any more of the product. It didn't make me want to watch more, which I think is always the best way to analyse how good a pay-per-view is, or any event. Does it make you want to watch more of the product? And the truth is, after watching it, the answer is no. I don't want to watch any more WE for now. I'll probably watch WrestleMania because I live in America now, so I can actually stay up. I haven't got to wait up till 3 in the morning to do that. And I'll watch it and I'll give it a go and see what happens. But frankly, I wasn't impressed. The current product is a little bit better than I thought, but it's still bad. One thing that I'll go back on in the Rumble and just say quickly, the NXT talent that they put forward was brilliant. That was a good move. I loved watching Aleister Black. I think out of all three of them, Aleister Black was the most over. I think Pete Dunne did well for himself. I think he did a good job of getting over with the fans. The fans really bought into him and Aleister Black's spot in the ring at one point, which was awesome to watch. And then the other thing I would say as well to that is that, you know, Johnny Gargano had a good run at the beginning of the event, and people probably will overlook Johnny Gargano, but the fact is I actually thought he did really well, and they gave, like I said, he gave a good account of himself, so it was good watching NXT talent in the ring. And I think legends are good, but it's always better seeing some actual wrestlers be given a chance, in my opinion. So getting to see him being put into the ring was a lot of fun. And that was it, guys. Now, I don't think I'm going to make it to the end of this Royal Rumble, and I don't really want to keep yapping away and make this video 20 times longer than it needs to be, so I'm going to end this now. But like I said, just to let you know, I will be doing more videos this week. As I said before, last week was a bit of a different week for me in terms of both personal life and just with the game itself, with WE and with the PlayStation 4, etc, etc. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed the Rumble. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I'm out of the Rumble. I'm not going to take over. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. If you don't like it, don't just be the down thumb troll. Please actually leave some comments. Be constructive with criticism. Let me know what I can do better. If you think I talk too much, if I don't talk enough, let me know, and I'll see what I can do to make these videos better. But as for now, I'm X Harper. This is WWE2k19. You have been awesome.